We are live. Hello, hello, hello. Intuition of the Soul members. Oh, this is going to be so much fun tonight. We have Rachaud Keys with us, and Kitty and I are so excited. He's someone we've known for a couple years, and we're just really excited to hear about his journey. And we were talking before we came on how how many things have changed for us in our lives and where we're going, and so it's really exciting. So, welcome, Rachaud.
Hi, thanks. Thank you.
And this is called Discussions with a Spiritual Warrior. And Rachauds he's come not only a long way in the spirit, but he's actually traveled a long way to follow this path. And so in a minute, we're going to kind of ask him to recap his story. We are able to answer questions, and he's going to talk to us about some of the more important things of the day, the ethics, the divine masculine, all of those kinds of things, and his experience. And he can tell you about his background and where he is now, because you got a lot of fans out there going, what's he doing these days? So,
I'm still here, I promise.
so why don't we start with, kind of your journey, if you don't mind, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I want to start with, since we're going to talk about just balance as a whole, so something that let me see if I can draw it real quick. I don't know if it'll be better to like draw what I'm talking about, but so whenever we talk about balance, so we have to think about our spiritual, which is the obvious, why we're here. But then once you are able to create a center, a balance there, it automatically goes out to your, I wrote it down, emotional, mental, psychological, and you start doing the inner work and you start healing yourself in that process. And as you get those two rolling right along, your physical catches right up to it. So I know a lot of people like to focus on, oh, well, I have this issue physically. I'm like, well, if you dig deeper first and we'll penetrate those layers, it just flows all the way through. So that's just a little something just to kind of get your mind thinking about what I'm going to talk about. So my journey. So I went to school for chemical engineering, and I mean, that's kind of how I grew up. I was always a smart kid, and people pushed me in the direction of STEM careers. So I chose chemical engineering, and in the middle of that, I can say that my gifts were kind of online, but not really. Anytime there was like a hard homework problem, I might have a dream that would kind of guide me towards the right answer, or the fact that a lot of my earlier years was kind of guided by spirit. Granted, I was blind to this, I didn't know this at the time, but my early childhood had its own predetermined path. There was no way to really flow off course. I was protected by spirit the whole time. So after college and I started to enter the real world, it's kind of like that protection started to fade off. I had to start learning my own lessons. And I spent a year in Thailand, and that is probably the first time I can say I felt disconnected. My body was there. I have all these memories of all the things I did in Thailand, but when I'm trying to connect those memories to, like, I guess the physical sensations of being on that beach or having conversations and seeing different things, it's kind of like, I don't know if that really happened, if it was a dream, if it was real life or what. Anyways, fast forwarding. So after that, I started my first engineering job, and I found myself miserable. I sat at a desk. I did rinse and repeat work. It was intellectually stimulating, but as far as on a deeper level, I never felt complete. I always felt like there was a piece of me missing. So after 2 years of working that job, I started to get a little anxiety, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to leave and go do another job, move across the US. So that was in Indiana, and then I moved to South Carolina to work for a nuclear facility. And I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. This is intellectually stimulating. I have close friends here, people my age. It should be great. First year was awesome. And then the pandemic kind of started to hit. I had a bad breakup, and things kind of got out of line and wonky. So after that bad breakup I had, I started to question a lot of things of what makes me happy. I had my own house, I had pets, I love snakes, so I apologize if you don't like snakes, but snakes are my go-to animal. I had my snakes, trying to think. I cooked all the time. I mean, I had all my hobbies, all the free time. I only worked 4 days a week. I thought on paper, everything seemed perfect. Sorry, I'm really sweaty. I did a workout earlier and I'm still sweating.
It's all right. We're pretty casual.
I thought everything was there, but I'm like, I don't get it. Like, the relationship failed and I honor that. But even though I'm trying to heal past it, something's missing. And once I asked that question of how do I get happy, my YouTube started to show random things about astrology and are you clairvoyant? I'm like, okay, I mean, I've heard of that, but I don't know much about it. So I watched a couple videos on that, and then one of my good friends introduced me to Michelle Legacy, who, that's kind of where we all come together. I remember joining Intuition Circle and feeling like, well, I'm the only guy here, and all these women are so advanced and they have all these beautiful gifts, and here I am imagining random things like people riding on chariots, and it's my crazy imagination. But going through
that was funny because I remember when you joined Intuition Circle, it was like, okay, he's going to be a guy. We're all women. It doesn't matter. Let's just, and it was amazing though for when you joined, but I remember that.
Well, and that's such a typical part of the spiritual warrior journey is everybody's got this, what am I doing here? That, I think there isn't one person out here. We got 10 people watching you right now who's not going, oh yeah, I remember that, thinking everybody's got a gift, but not me. I actually said that in a reading to somebody once. Oh yeah, you're different than the whole quantum universe. You're the oddball. That's why all these attraction things around you, and So I mean, that's such a typical piece.
Yeah, we've all been there. I mean, I really doubted myself. I really thought, I don't know. I'm closing my eyes and I see colors. I close my eyes, I see light and dark. I'm like, nobody else is saying these things but me. I don't know what's going on. But the one thing I can say is once you start to trust that you're not crazy up there and honor what you actually have and what spirit gives you, it's magical, the things that, that you're just able to know without really understanding how you know. All right,
I remember when you were at that point where you were just, first there was a lot of questions, and then you had a real shift that really became apparent, very quickly.
That
you had accepted, you had just kind of, okay, I'm making peace with this. This is what it is. But you were very powerful, and it did kind of intimidate me and frighten me a little. No, and it's just because you were just coming into it, because once you accepted it, and I think that's the key right there. Once you said, I'm okay with this, boom, you were just, even there were times when you were going, I don't really know what this is, but you just had that blind faith that you were being led to where you needed to be, and that acceptance was so beautiful to see. But wow, you got, I mean, once you give them the green light, bam, you got hit.
Oh yeah, it was like a fire hose. So after growing from Michelle's program, and I did her intuitive life coaching program as well, I left my last job and I was like, you know what, we're going on a bigger leap of faith. So I left South Carolina and I moved to Iowa with a good friend of mine that is always in and out of my life. She's currently out, but it's like that sometimes. I moved out here with no agenda, honestly, and I found a massage school that I went to, and then after massage school, I landed like at the perfect chiropractic office, and like everything just keeps flowing. Like I don't really try, everything just flows. So once you have that faith and you trust spirit and you just jump into the river, I mean, you will flow exactly where you want to go. And I know it sounds like it's crazy and it's not true, but that's the power of manifesting it. You put it out there and you just accept it and let it be, and it happens.
Maybe exactly. you can maybe, because I remember having conversations about, my friend Rachaud there has quite the connection to angels. And, it was an amazing unfolding of the language, and maybe you can talk about some of those things that you encountered along the way, because there are people out here who I know are being pulled, and some of it times they think, what? So
okay, yeah, absolutely. So something that I can say for me at least, I was kind of being pulled in every direction, like some parts of shamanism, some parts of Wicca, some parts with angels, some parts with star seeds. And what I say is let them all be in harmony, because our soul is, I don't know if infinite is the correct word, but we'll say it's infinite. And it's experienced so many different things in so many different lifetimes. So you bring in all of the things together to bring harmony to your life. So yes, I do bless my water, which could be something that is more Wiccan or shamanic, to be honest. Breathing is definitely shamanic, and I practice that. I dance around a fire at the full moon, and I burn my things I choose to give back to the earth. I have a direct connection with Archangel Michael. He is my go-to guide, and if anything ever happens, I channel that. His energy is like, how can I describe it? It's just, it's powerful. I'll say that. It's just really powerful, and it just comes straight through me, and from my crown all the way out through my hands, and the energy can go where it pleases. So for me, I like to call in that energy if I'm unsure about what to do. But whatever you're being called to, go for it. Like, there's nobody's here to judge you or to say that what you're tapping into is wrong. It's what you feel in your heart is right.
And that's unbelievably important, because I can't tell how many people say, but I don't know what I should be doing and following. And it's wonderful to hear. Follow it all until
All of it.
until I mean, I remember when you could feel your wings.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like when
I
first
remember
felt
that too.
the very first time I felt that, yeah. I was doing a meditation, and I was just lying there, and I could just feel my shoulder blades just pulsing, and I'm like, my attention's not there. My attention's like just overall peace over the whole body. But I felt that, and the second I honored that and accepted that's what it was, it's like they just they take up the whole room now.
But that's the key. As soon as I honored it, as soon as
Right. Right. And it's okay to honor the good and the bad. So whenever you're frustrated, you're anxious, you're angry, when you honor those feelings, that's when they don't take control over you, and you have control over it, and you let it be, and it dissipates. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Amy sometimes has in and out internet, so there she goes. But yeah, it's important, because one of the reasons we wanted to have this discussion is there's so many people at those various stages. So like when you finally got out to, she'll be back. When you got out to Iowa, like what happened? I mean, I remember I talked to you because your car broke down before you were going to leave.
I know. My car broke down right before I went to leave that morning. I'm like, fine, okay. So yes, and that was my first lesson in learning to honor even the ugly. I just took a deep breath. I honestly took an angry nap. Those are my favorite things to do. If I'm ever upset, I'm like, you know what? We're going to take a 30-minute angry nap, and we're just going to let it all go. Because if I'm awake, I'm just going to keep festering in it. If I'm asleep, it will go through. It'll process. And I'll calm down, wake up, and think clearly on what to do next, instead of operating in a state of rage.
I love that. Take an angry nap.
Yes. I still do that today.
Get into those, go into those theta waves and let spirit solve it.
Yeah. Like once you train yourself through meditations, because a lot of this energy work, we are not 100% in control. We sort of facilitate that direction of how the energy is to function, but at the end of the day, we're not really in control of that, really. It's higher than us, and we just welcome it to just cleanse and take the negativity wherever it needs to go.
Okay, so you climbed in your car after your angry nap, and you got
right. The drive was very, honestly, I don't remember much of the drive, besides there were several points I was sleepy, and I don't know, like every time I would reach a gas station, like I should pull over and probably take a nap or go to sleep for a while, I was energized. I'm like, okay, fine, we'll do it again. And then eventually I did take a nap, woke up, and finished my drive. But when I was in Iowa, I remember when I drove over the Mississippi River, just the feeling of completion, like the feeling that this is where I'm supposed to be in my life, hit me instantly. It was, I don't even know what word to use. It's hard to use words with things like that, but it's just like it immediately just overtook me. Like, yes, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. But once I was in Iowa, I kind of lost touch with everyone because I was undergoing my own transformation again to be this massage therapist and really dig deeper with energy work, just in a more physical sense, actually using it to manually manipulate muscles and all that stuff too. So, yeah.
Nice.
So you kind of started again with, because I can tell you, I would see glimpses of you online. And what led you to massage therapy? And it
I
wasn't
always
like you climbed in your car and said, "I'm going to Iowa to be a massage therapist."
Right. I had no agenda when I moved to Iowa, but I remember Chrissy and I used to joke about, what if there was this such thing as an intuition school where we can all just, holistically learn about everything. So I think one of those days, like after a conversation, I just looked around. I'm like, are there any massage schools around? So then I was just casually looking, and right down the road from me was a massage school, and they were holistically based. So they brought in a shaman. They brought in a Reiki master. We learned polarity therapy. I'm trying to think of all the energy stuff we learned. We learned some stuff on crystals. There was like a lot of different energy things that we learned about on top of the manual manipulation part. But the whole idea of the school was to integrate energy work with the physical part and to just bring that balance, that healing to the body. And that makes honestly the best massage therapist, where you're just lying there and the therapist does all the work and you wake up like, oh, I can move. Everything feels great. Okay, awesome.
Did you ever in that, school part hear like spirit say, this is where you're supposed to be, or you just kind of felt it? I mean, it's not exactly chemical engineering to massage
I
therapy and
know.
spirit,
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say there was this aha moment where everything, where I felt like that's where I was supposed to be. It was more so, I can't describe it. It's hard. Um, it just felt like the work needs to be done. That's kind of what Spirit's telling me. The work needs to be done. Like you need to not sacrifice, but you need to dedicate your time to owning this craft for the next step.
because that's really important, because I think sometimes we think that, and sometimes it is a bolt of lightning. This bolt of lightning comes and it's clear, and there the door opens and here's my path, and
Right.
there's that give it up for divine timing thing. Like
Give it up for divine time.
I
just have to tell you that my internet's going in and out, so sometimes I'm not hearing the conversation, and you probably saw I come off and come back on. So it's not that I'm not interested. It's like sometimes I don't know exactly. It's just really broke up, and I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. So I'm just telling you that, so I don't look like I'm sitting over here not doing anything. I'm like,
well, we've had that too, where my auditory went, and I nodded my head through half a program because
I know I don't like it though. I want to hear what's going on. Do we have any questions out there?
I do want to comment on this.
We've got a lot of comments.
This last comment about the excess energy. So that is something I had to learn really quick doing massage therapy, is the fact that I am opening my energy. Okay, my personal energy, I'm opening it to help somebody, but then I had to learn channel the energy and let it flow through me to help people. So anytime you're doing any kind of meditation to heal people, never use your personal energy unless it is somebody who's very close to you and you choose to do that. But I always ask Archangel Michael to send the energy through me, like not through my heart. I don't want to, get too much energy and too worked up. Let it flow from my crown through my hands. Don't let it go anywhere else. Just let it flow directly through me. So that's one way that you don't absorb other people's energy, because you have divine energy flowing through you. And protection, that is something that is very important no matter what kind of energy work you do. So for me personally, feet are planted on the ground. If I'm doing a meditation, palms are up to receive energy. If I'm ever uncomfortable around somebody, like there's just negative energy, my ankles might be crossed, my hands might be together, something's crossed to just say no energy exchanges right now. But before my massage, I always start with every client face up so I can work on their scalp. And while I'm working on their scalp, I do my own protection. So I'll have this pyramid of protection around me. Like I don't know, the color changes depending on the person, but this pyramid of energy that just protects me. You can't get inside this fort. This is my personal fort. And then I expand my awareness to every corner of the room so that if any energy is floating around, I'm aware of it and I can command it to leave. Or I can invite energy in. I'm that aware to where you can control the space. And then, once you have those layers there, you're good to go. You have the control of energy at that point. You're not just letting energy randomly flow. So I'm sure that'll be really helpful for any energy work you do, is just having control of the space that you're in.
I think
I love that. I love having it come from your crown and into your hands, and you're channeling the energy. You're not using, necessarily your personal energy, but then you're also not absorbing theirs. I think that's just really, really important that, like you said, anybody doing that energy work, that was a great tip. Thank you for sharing that.
And I can even see that with mediumship and stuff, so that your own ego doesn't. I want it to come through me and be protected so nothing kind of sticks on me either. So
one of my biggest things for mediumship is if I'm ever connecting with somebody who's passed and there was a violent death, every time, if I don't protect myself, it's pretty intense. Like if somebody got shot in the back of the head or they committed suicide, like the back of my head will just pulse like in pain. And I'm like, okay, Spirit, I understand you're here. Thank you for letting me know. You can go away now, but it's hard to tell it to go away once it's already in. So if you protect yourself, only like a little taste of it comes in, and you're like, oh, okay, I honor that. I know what that is. Got it.
Right. You know what it is. You've got it. You honor it, but it's not going to be overwhelming. You're not going to like feel it. I get you there. Yeah, that makes good sense.
So I'd like to review this because I think there's enough people on here. So you literally talk to Spirit about, I'm going to channel someone and I set my own energy aside. Do you use a shape or anything you protect yourself with? Or?
I use a pyramid. I use a pyramid that literally goes over me, and it's like protected. It's like you can't access this pyramid unless I let you in. So my energy stays in this little bubble or pyramid, and nothing can penetrate that. That's my fortress. The triangle is the strongest shape.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, and the triangle is 3, which is a cosmic galactic number versus of Earth. And that's kind of what we're separating, working on. I'm just learning about that.
So Jennifer from Canada says, can you define honor for her? When you said you honor it, she's not understanding.
The best way I can describe honor is that moment that you accept that something is what it is. Like you accept it for what it is and you let it be. It's kind of like, I hate to use this example, but this is what Spirit said, so I don't know if there's somebody in the group who needs to hear this. It's kind of like if you're in a toxic relationship, that moment when you honor that this is toxic and this is not for me and I deserve better. It's that clicking moment where you let it be and you don't feed it anymore. You just let it exist and you exit it. So.
Barb Childress said, I can't imagine all that excess energy being letting go and absorbing it. Do you ever have a point where you realize you picked it up, or you're really...
I do, and that's why I exercise. So that's kind of my thing, is after a day of massaging, I will, like today I did Pilates. I will do my workout to just let all of that literally leave my body through sweat. And yeah, it's just, it kind of goes back to what I said about the spiritual, the mental, and the physical. Like it all balances together. Yeah. So that's my form, but there's so many forms of like just releasing the energy, because sometimes I am overwhelmed to where I'm like, this is too much. I have too much energy. I can't even like calm myself down. And I'm like, you know what? I know what I need. I need to work out and just breathe.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting, thought when you get to that point and you're just so over, so you have some things that, and everybody does have a different way to do it. And that's what's really important is finding your way. Because I got to tell you, the idea after doing all that physical energy of doing something else physical, my body goes,
It's tough some days. It's definitely tough some days.
you know.
Acknowledging or recognizing. So I feel like when you recognize things, you recognize it, but I don't know if you act on it. So you can recognize it, but your action plan after that, recognizing doesn't give me the energy of doing something about it. Whereas when you acknowledge something, it's like you get, when you acknowledge something, it's like you have to take action because it's there and it's up front in your face. That's kind of like what I get from those two words about trying to relate that to honoring.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So what are you doing now? You're doing massage therapy? Are you doing some classes, or what's it look like in a day for Rachaud?
I'm in the works for getting fitness classes going at the massage school to kind of bring, that whole balance of everything there. Right now I'm doing cardio, kickboxing, and Pilates every day. That's kind of my thing. And I'm in the works for trying to create this class I'm probably going to collab with people because I've kind of been having conversations about it, about balancing the divine masculine and the feminine. So the divine feminine is what we're very familiar with, intuition and just getting these messages or knowledge from sources of, sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know. It's just there sometimes. And crafting that skill. Well, then the divine masculine is kind of there to protect that. So our ego does a decent job at protecting it, but sometimes it gets overprotective and then limits the divine feminine from growing. So the divine masculine is all about bringing that protection, that assertion instead of aggression there. So honestly, if you want to think about it, everything you think of as divine feminine, any of those words that describe it, the complete opposite is the divine masculine. And there's a healthy level to both sides of it. So you can be forward without being aggressive. You can be protective without being overprotective. You can be concerned without being jealous. It's things like that to really build those skills without being overbearing.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I love that.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot. And I thought to myself, when you said you're looking at kickboxing and Pilates,
yes.
I thought to myself, divine feminine and divine masculine exercises.
Exactly right.
The strength and the holding of a position and the nurturing, and then getting a little bit of the boundary and stuff out. So,
but that is so needed right now. That whole getting in touch with your divine feminine and divine masculine. It's just Cinnamon says it's coming up everywhere, and it's time to pay attention. So and I think we've had conversations about it, on our spirit communication and just in different times talking that it's coming up a lot right now. People are starting to think about it, and perfect timing for your getting your class around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of our understanding with women of the intuition, but society hasn't really allowed us. We've been called, instead of assertive, we're called blah blah blah, and to be able to work with men on seeing them both differently is so important for us, but us also to see when it is divine versus control kind of thing. So, so that, so are you thinking about a course or?
I'm thinking about a 6-month program, and I usually don't like doing this, but I do want to separate a men's group and a women's group, only because the men's group is a lot of breaking down toxic masculinity problems. And for women, it's usually building up the divine masculine. So it's kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum, trying to bring them to harmony. So so I'm thinking about a 6-month program, and every month, kind of like what Michelle did, Intuition Circle, it will explore a new topic, and we'll build on the previous topic until we're, to a very healthy ground where you can grow on your own.
So So you'll
I
keep
love
us
it.
posted on that.
Oh, yeah,
When you have some of
absolutely.
that information, we can share it with our, our members and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I know it's in the planning stage, but
Right.
when it gets to where you've got some information to share, make sure you,
And maybe you could give we women a tidbit on how we could perhaps help our male counterparts go. Because frankly, that's a hard topic sometimes to branch.
Right. Right.
Because here's the conversation. You're kind of aggressive. Oh, it's always me. End of conversation.
Right.
And so it's interesting. Rachaud, can you also talk a little bit about, because even that's a good example, how we approach people.
Right.
Sometimes people get messages and they don't know what to do with them. And how do you approach somebody, and should you approach somebody, and all those kind of things in your warrior travels? What have you kind of found about that?
So when it comes to my family members who don't support my intuitive path, I usually say a dream, or I just have this really strange feeling. Those are like my two things I usually always say. For people who I just don't know and I feel inclined to give them a message, I usually will start off with something like, let me think, the last time I did this. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if this is even, I'm not sure if this is even true for you, but this is kind of what ran through my mind. I don't know, I always like to start off soft and just like prep them to kind of be a little skeptical about it. And if it's something that they want to hear, awesome. Like it's a win-win for both of us. But if it's something they don't care about, it's like, okay, whatever, and they dismiss it. So it's no harm on either party versus like, I have to tell you this. Spirit is bugging me. Look. But just
do you get that when you're doing your massage though? Because you're like in physical contact and all that. I imagine
aura and their energy.
You're getting messages when you're doing your job.
I do, and usually there's enough small talk in the middle of the massage that I'm able to just gently nudge it in there. Because it's an hour I'm spending with them, so like maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I'm like, do you have a son? Is your son okay? And then I just kind of go with it at that point versus just up front like, oh, why is he asking me about my son, blah 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 blah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure the way you are, you probably just weave it right in there.
A
little massage here and a little bit of message there.
You just can't startle people. You have to just gently leave it in.
Well, and you have to ask them,
right.
That's such an important thing, if somebody is reading and sometimes, and you get something else, it's not an argument. That's not what I got,
Right.
But I think that must be kind of intense because, how do I, or this impression, and boy, it goes back to trusting too.
I think I've given up on caring about it, to be honest. I'm just like, look, I'm like, this is what came to me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you take offense to it, I'm so sorry, but I'm just gonna let it out.
Yeah.
But what you said though is you kind of like gently or softly bring it up and that kind of thing. So I'm sure that the way you do it, and I'm sure you've had people say I'm not interested, but the way you approach it, I think is the important thing there on how you can give that message, and they have the opportunity to say I'm not interested or really tell me more kind of thing.
And I think some of that's the difference between the divine masculine and the divine feminine is
could be.
Where are your strengths in some of this,
Right.
And who is your audience? Is it a male? Is it a female? What is the reception there? Because, frankly, there are times where people will say, I got a message for you. And I want to go, I don't want it,
Oh, sorry, Kitty. That's me.
No, it's, but honestly, if I were in the grocery store and somebody came up and said, I got a message for you. I'm buying liverwurst. You know, so
read that stuff.
oh, I love liverwurst.
Oh,
you know,
sorry.
There's also another method I do for people who are usually a little more on the uncomfortable side. Usually, how do I word this? So what I'll do is, instead of me verbally saying the message, I just imagine like a little tether that comes out of my head. It attaches to the other person's tether, and I send the message. And whether they receive it or not, that is not my responsibility anymore because I sent it. And I ask their higher self to deliver it to them, and they will get it in the form of a dream or whatever it is. But I'm like, I sent it, I'm done.
Yeah, you know, Chrissy Newman talked about that too.
Beautiful.
I work with their higher power, and when they're ready to access it, they will get the information. And I like that because
I do too, because you deliver the message, they can get it in whatever method they get it, but you delivered it. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that came to me. I'm like, I do that so much I don't think about it.
Wow.
I'm just like, go ahead, here it is, take it. I don't want it. You got enough going on.
Yeah, give it back. Okay, I got the message. Let me send it to your higher self, and you know, so send it. I like that because you know there are people that encounter even via media and stuff, and my trigger is. So that's a good way to deal with it. I like that. I love that reminder.
Yeah. I was just reading some of the comments too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty it's interesting. And you know, this is that spiritual warrior, you know, what am I going to do with this?
So Rachel kind of made a comment, and she just was kind of like saying she has the divine feminine thing down, but she needs to have some more of the divine masculine. So what would be a suggestion, or how do we tap into that? Or
it certainly takes practice because I will give like a very strong divine masculine trait is when you speak up for yourself. And you don't have to be aggressive. I'm a fairly soft-spoken person, but I can speak up without being overbearing or intimidating. So one of the things that I try to practice, like I'm an introvert, I guess, extroverted introvert, but I'm mostly an introvert. And something I started doing lately, I'm like, on my weekends when I'm not doing anything, I'm gonna take a walk downtown. And I know that sounds very simple, but like just me walking around other people who might be drunk or whatever else they're doing, you know, old me is a little terrified of them. Like, I don't want to be around other people right now. I just want to be in my own little shell, in my own little space, enjoying myself. But I keep pushing it just a little bit. And if I go out with people, instead of me being in the background to like tell the hostess that, you know, it's 3 of us and we want to sit outside, I'm usually the one to take charge. Like just little bitty things to just put yourself in a position of being in charge. That's the key thing I can say to developing your divine masculine. And being a massage therapist, I kind of don't have a choice because I'm in control of the room, and I'm, you know, the person on the table is completely vulnerable. So it's practicing how can I take charge and not be intimidating, scary, or overbearing.
That's great. Got another one? I like these tips.
And Rachel said yes.
Yeah, you see, I pick my brain. There's so much stuff there that like I can't just organize it.
Yeah. Sue says that if her massage therapist does not get a message, they're not doing their job because they're so in her energy. And she says she's always happy to get what they picked up.
And yeah, Rachel says thank you. If anybody has another question that occurs to them, or you know, please make sure you write it so we can pick his brain on, you know.
Yes, let's pick it.
You know.
Yeah, I covered all the topics I needed to cover.
Well, you know, one of the reasons, you know, I contacted you was because you had gone through so much.
Right.
You know, and there's so many people here are looking at leaving pieces of careers and what is their next step. Do you have like?
Oh yeah, I could talk about that.
Okay.
So after I completed the intuitive life coaching, that was at the very beginning of the pandemic, when I was debating on should I leave my job or not, because I will admit I was a chemical engineer. I was making 70K a year, and as somebody I was 27 at the time, being 27, making that much money and having no debt, I mean, that's a great life. Like, you can't complain about that. And I wanted to throw all that away to the unknown. Like, I don't know what's coming next. I don't have benefits. I don't have income. Like, I don't know. I did get a lot of anxiety though, because I was trying to stay in a place I didn't fit. And I was like, I was restless. I was going from undereating to overeating. Sleep patterns were wonky. Like, I don't know, like everything was just like, my body was telling me this is unstable. You're vibrating higher than where you are. You need to leave. But my logic, my ego was trying to protect me and say, no, that's not logical. That's not what we do. Plan it out, save money, blah, 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 blah. But when your body gives you enough signs, you should definitely listen, because at that point, if you don't do it, you're basically going to end up stuck in the matrix, and you're going to repeat this life again and hoping you make that leap of faith the next time. And that's the last thing any of us wants to do. We want to just, knock it all out in one swing.
There you go. I love that how you had to set the ego aside. So talk a little about that if you can, because that's not an easy thing to do for a lot of people.
And I imagine some of that anxiety followed you into this path.
Right.
It's not like you go, oh, I'm just going, and no anxiety, all these things that your body had been.
Right. I had all those emotions. I had anxiety. I'm a very calm person normally, but I mean, I was sitting at work several days. I'm like, I'm here 10 hours, tough it out, blah, 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 blah. Do I want to skip work today? I entered a mini depression at one point. Like, there was just so many things going on. But I think one day I talked to my older sister. She's a lawyer, so she is like my logic whenever I'm not logical. And she told me, she's like, if you feel that this is too much for you, if you feel like this is just not where you're meant to be, you're young, you have an engineering degree, go somewhere else. You can go teach, you can go work at somebody's factory. If all else fails and your ambitions fail, you can still have a career as an engineer. But you don't want to have regrets. That is the biggest thing. You want to explore the opportunity while you have that chance, and you don't have attachments like a kid or a very good relationship or whatever. You can just up and leave and just make your own reality at that point. So when she pointed that out to me, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have regrets about this. I want to do it. And if I fail, that's fine. It's okay. I tried it. And then we'll keep trying until it works. So if you have nothing holding you back, I mean, there's nothing really stop you at that point. And even if you do have things holding you back, you make a plan. You make your manifestation. Like, I have sticky notes everywhere all over my place. Like, make your manifestation sticky notes, put them all around, say them every time you see them, and put it out there, and the world will work around your situation to make things happen, I promise.
Yeah.
Shortly after I got here, let me see, I moved here at the end of June in I saw a comment. How long from the start of your journey? I started with Michelle, I believe that was like October 2019. That sounds about when I started. That was about October 2019. So yeah, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, honestly, that like my skills just ramped up.
Well, but you said you had some period leading up to that. You had depression, you had all these other things that forced you to look.
Right, because even when I left my first job when I was in Indiana, I had that same kind of anxiety where I'm like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I don't care about a lease. I don't care about any of these things. I have to leave. And honestly, when I left South Carolina, I had a house to sell, and I was like, it'll sell. It'll be fine. Like, I don't care. Like, if I'm out of money because of this, whatever. I'm like, I'm out of here.
But it's important for people to understand that part of the journey
is letting go.
It was letting go and being kind of grumpy and being the next right thing, and get out of your 3D understanding of what that is.
Right.
You're kind of pushed along until you're like, okay, it's not a place, it's not a person, it's not a, all of those things. So that's it doesn't matter if it's a day, a week, a year, 10 years. It's
Right.
Well, it's about holding, like Rachaud was saying, holding that goal or that manifestation there, and just having the faith and letting go. I mean, I think that was really key too. Just letting go, holding on to what you really wanted, even if you weren't sure at that time what it was. You knew what you didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew you wanted something better, and you held on to your faith, and just kind of, released any, control. I mean, you just kind of let it go. I mean, that's really, really important to get to be led by spirit. You have to let go. I mean, if they're trying to take you here and you're trying to go there, then it's not going to work. But by just releasing and letting go of that, then you can be led to where you're meant to be.
Like Robin says, being our authentic self.
Right. I even got a go ahead, sorry.
I would say, let's talk about something we all do. Do you ever sabotage yourself?
Sabotage myself. Let's think about this. Like those negative experiences don't stick with me. So I really can't think of a moment where I just sabotaged myself, to be honest. I probably did. Right?
Well, I mean, you have, but like, what did you do you think to get out of it?
I mean, it always starts with anxiety for me, because that's something I've never experienced until this spiritual path, honestly, is, once you reach that very anxious moment, you have to just breathe. You have to let not just physically breathing, let your entire mind and body just rest for a second. If you need to take days off of work to just mentally recoup, do it. Whatever it takes. The one thing I love about my job now is I wake up when I wake up. I don't start until 10 o'clock. So I'm usually up by 7:30, 8 o'clock anyways. But the fact that I'm not waking up to an alarm, I'm sorry, that was a side note, but that came to me.
Okay.
Robin, you were going to say something about a tattoo?
Yeah. So my tattoo is my life mantra. It is attached to nothing, connect to everything. So attaching to this 3D matrix that we live in, attaching to people, to significant others, to money, to a job, all of these things are not permanent by any means. And I'm not trying to say that you can't love the person you love. It's just at some point, we're all going to be separated from each other. At some point, you're not going to have the finances that you have. At some point, everything in life is just not there. So it more teaches me to live in the moment and accept things for what it is. For instance, even with dating or anything, you get all of this excitement and stuff, and you want to plan out a future, but then you neglect about what's in the moment. You're too far out in the future that you have to create from in the moment first. So it's just my constant reminder, stay in the moment. You're creating your future day by day. It's not like you can plan out that future, because one event changes that future you try to say exists.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think that's what I meant actually by the trigger. Something sets you off.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go back. I like your tattoo. I'm going to write it down. I'm probably not going to get a tattoo, but but yeah, I think that's
right here, Kitty.
That's exactly what a trigger is, though.
Right.
I'm attached to something, so it's triggering me. I want to control something that's not mine to control. Other people, other places, other things. Yeah, I think that's kind of key. And, actually, you answered my question without answering my question, because now I'm thinking, the way you get out of a sabotage is to let go of what you were attached to.
There we go. There we go.
So, like M&M's, a bag of but I mean, that's that same kind of thing. What do I do that gets in my own path? I attach to something.
Right.
So and I have some expectation on somebody else, because there's so much out there. Amy and I have been talking about it. We have a couple programs coming up looking at how our beliefs, our judgments are some of our biggest stumbling blocks on what we do. So
How about other questions out there? Anybody? Look, come on, we got him on here for a couple more minutes. Let's pick his brain. He's got so much in there.
Yeah, he really does. And you
So,
seem to have reached a level of letting go that
yeah.
um, a lot of us would love to reach. I
Yeah.
mean, I can tell you the difference even in your energy from
Yes.
back during that time is, um,
Yeah.
I would say to Amy, I'm going to call Rachad. I'm going to need a nap, when I'm done. And
I would
um,
say, no, don't.
yeah, um,
I can't call him. No.
but it's still as powerful, but it's so much more calm.
Thank you.
So
One
Yes, definitely.
So one thing I did forget to mention, so when I moved here, let me see, I moved here June 2020. Towards the end of August, massage school started August 30th. So like a week or two right before that, my friend who's always in and out of my life, she found out that she had cervical cancer and she was losing it. Like she was like literally going off her rocker and she snapped on me. And then at that point, I recognized the toxicity. I'm like, I can't build myself in a toxic environment. Like that's a no-go. So that was another blind leap of faith where I packed my things up. I messaged the only other person I knew in this area and it was like, can I crash on your couch for a couple weeks until I figure things out? And then I ended up renting out of his place until like throughout the whole time I was in massage school. But the fact that, I didn't know if I had a place to go. I didn't know if I would have to just live out of my car for a little bit. I didn't care. I'm like, I value myself and not putting myself in a toxic environment. I will do whatever I have to do. So that was, I don't know, that was almost bigger than moving out here was I didn't know what I was going to do, what living situation I was going to have. So that was a scary one too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting that so many of us, anxiety is kind of what propelled us forward.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When something. So you said, Robin asked, what was out of Michelle's class was your most memorable?
Most memorable.
Michelle.
That's also true. Let's see. I did like the head, heart, gut technique. That one was really nice because naturally everything comes through my head, but then like sometimes it's too much chatter there that I can't focus. So like going to my heart, going to my gut, and like that link between them, like that was really impactful. I don't use it as much as I probably should, but it's something that really stood out to me in the dreams masterclass we had. I really liked that one. That one
Penny
was really,
Pierce.
Oh,
yeah, that was
yes.
really good.
That was very good.
That was
Okay, yeah.
awesome.
I have like 4 of
Mhm.
her books now because of
Okay.
that class. Yeah. Of course I do.
Yeah.
Sue wants to know where in Iowa you are.
I'm in the Quad Cities. I'm in Davenport, Iowa.
Okay. And Sue knows where she is, so she can let us know if that's close by.
Okay.
And Jennifer wanted to know, how did you connect with your angels?
How did I? So I used to do. If you go to my Facebook group, I do have some meditations on there. And when I did my meditations, I would always imagine myself on the beach or somewhere familiar that I've physically been, and then I would go deeper into the meditation, like when I'm in the water or the creek or the stream. That's when I ascend to the heavens, the blue crystal palace, wherever it is that I went to. And when I was there, that's when I got to access my higher self. I got to access my spirit guides. I got to access these beings that whisper to me, but now they're talking directly to me. I see their physical form they want me to see. But one time during that meditation, when I was in my blue crystal palace, I laid on this bed of crystals and the crystals changed. So I don't know, most of the time it was emerald, sometimes it was blue, like a sapphire. Other times it was just white. It was just a pure white. And one time I laid on it, and instead of feeling stones in my back, I felt lightness. I felt, it's kind of like you mix the softness of a feather with the thickness of honey. I felt that on my back and I'm like, this is new. And while I was there, like I just felt everything in my shoulders like pulse. Like I know I'm moving my shoulder, but that motion was happening without me moving it. Like I was in my meditation, I was very zenned out. And once I discovered, like, the wings are there, and then once the wings expanded and I tapped into that, I actually had a reading with Kitty, and she told me that Archangel Michael was something. I don't know if you said descendant of him or I am one with him. I don't know exactly.
We're one with him. I remember it.
There we go.
Because it was very clear. Your grandmother and you are Archangel Michael. Like you are a piece of, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So once that clicked, I have a video in my group where I kind of show where I tap into that energy and, oh God, what's her name? Why don't I know her name? Oh my goodness. I feel bad. I feel insulted for forgetting her name. Pat, there we go. Pat from Intuition Circle, she started giving me gifts. She's like, accept this armor, accept this sword, accept your halo, accept these different parts. And then once I started accepting these parts, and honestly, the biggest thing is ask. Ask for whatever you want, and you will get it, if you need it, that is. Once I started asking for these different things, and then it just all just molded together to where, bam, like this is it. This is your angelic form. This is your battle angel form with all your armor, and the energy just comes in hot. Quite literally.
Would you share the name of your group?
Yeah. Oh God, my memory's fading because I'm all over the place in my head. Spirit Warriors, awaken your inner empath. There we go.
I'm about to say, if you don't know it, I do.
Like I know it, but like my brain's like
yeah, we can look it up.
All kind of places.
We can put that in
we'll
down
put it in
so
the comments too. So yeah,
yeah. So you said you have some of those videos that they can see on your Facebook page.
Correct.
Is that what you said?
Okay. On my Facebook group, yeah, I have some there.
On your Facebook group, yeah.
And I've done a few of them. My favorite one was when we had to go and sit and talk to your higher self, and they gave you a gift. I really enjoyed that one.
Mm-hmm.
I got wings for my feet. Yeah. So
I love it.
So Sabrina had some questions. Do you ever have trouble at first imagining things? I struggle with this, imagining things without feeling like I'm making everything up. Oh yeah, we talked about that early on, about that making up thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where I started off. Like I remember, and like I see red. I see, honestly, like sometimes it's comical because I see like, you remember in Hunger Games when she was on the fire chariot? Like I've seen that for somebody. I'm like, this is what I see. I don't know what this means to you, but take it. I'm like, this is not mine to interpret. Just take this image and do what you need to with it.
Perceptions are, Michelle, perceptions are never wrong. Interpretation is.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yes. So honestly, just embrace the randomness that comes in your head, because honestly, the way intuition works, I think, is random anyways. It's like I'm washing dishes and I'm like, okay, Spirit, why is that even there? My mind's not even there half the time. Why?
And that's actually really important, because if we realize, okay, here's the science geek, that everything at one time was somebody's imagination that we've brought into the 3D, why would we doubt our perceptions then, that it's something beyond what was seen? You know, I mean, if we went back 100 years and said we'd be sitting here across the country with our pictures and talking, they'd be like, yeah, right.
Sure.
Even me growing up, that this would be not a movie, it would be a concept too hard to understand. So
right. And another thing on top of that is if you can think about it in terms of you being a child and when you were intuitively gifted, and you may not have realized it, but how powerful your imagination actually is. You create your reality based on your imagination. When I was a kid, I remember I used to be able to think of anything I wanted to right before bedtime, close my eyes, I would be in my dream instantly, like just instant astral project. And that's something I wish I had again. I mean, granted, I don't know. My life is so like on the go that I don't know if I have time, if I even want to do that anymore, and wake up exhausted.
You don't want to go there in your dream life,
right? I don't want to be exhausted when I wake up.
Well, and the science behind that is children's brainwaves are at the theta level, and that's our dream level. So that's why
Right.
all that stuff comes. I mean, that's actually science.
Right.
So again, 15 years ago, we wouldn't be able to say that. So, we have 2 minutes left. And is there anything last words you want to say for us, Rachaud? And we thank you so much for coming,
Absolutely.
and stay in touch.
I will. You have to prod me, I promise.
I prod you. I appear, don't I? Like months go by and then Kitty appears and then she goes back, So
honestly, best thing I can say is just trust the universe, trust the river, just trust whatever you think, that it's not false, that it's not made up, because literally you craft your reality based off your imagination. If you want to be I don't know, I'll just throw something out there. Say you just want to leave your career in accounting and you're like, I want to go be a volunteer in South America. I want to live off the land. Like, I want to learn the language. I want to do all of this. And you have no prior knowledge of any of it. You can do it. You can craft that reality. You can craft whatever reality you want to. But it's whether you want to push through the obstacles to get there, whether you want to have the mental strength to get there. So yeah, I think that's a good way to part ways.
All right. So thank you so much. We'll be in contact.
So much.
Absolutely.
You promised you're going to let us know about your class, and
I will, absolutely. I'm in the works. I have month 1 down. That's all I got.
So yeah, because I think even what you've told us, maybe because there are people that would, women are good at bringing men along, so that would be lovely. So
yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Rachaud. It's been great.
And we'll see you later. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Aloha. Aloha.